I'm Margaret Garcia. I'm an artist. I went to Cal State Northridge for a couple of semesters. Then I went to LACC for a couple of semesters. Then I went to USC for graduate school. I sort of skipped the undergraduate stuff. The faculty voted unanimously to let me into their graduate program at that point because of my track record and my history in the Chicano art community. I curated the Day of the Dead for self-help graphics in 84, 85, 86, when Sister Karen decided she didn't want to do Day of the Dead anymore. So working at the photography center, I moved it to the west side of LA. And that's when it sort of took off because the Chicano community had it, but I involved people who weren't Chicano, so I sort of extended it because everybody dies. It's the human experience. I started with public art doing murals, and I did a metro station at Universal City Metro. It is the site called the Campo de Cahuenga. It is the location where the capitulation of Cahuenga was signed, ending the Mexican-American War in California. And it's where California became a territory of the United States. And the history of California from pre-Espanol, pre-Hispanic, to the signing of that capitulation is what's covered on the columns of the platform there at Universal. And it's written in both English and Spanish. Story of resilience. I consider a matriarchal line. My grandmother, who was of Tarahumara descent, born in El Paso, and she was a very strong woman. Well, I guess the thing that I've struggled the most with is the same thing my grandmother struggled with, was kidnapping. Her children were kidnapped from her. I ended up kidnapping my daughter from here in Los Angeles to try to keep her away from an abusive father who, when they found me 3 years after, living underground, he took her and incested her. And I would say it was successful because I was able to then get her out of the situation, but unfortunately I was not able to break that chain, and she has these sort of blocks against it. So she's gone, even though we went through the crime victim program on this issue, she has a denial about it. So she has taken my granddaughter to him to be babysat by him. So it's not a complete story yet. Looking back, at that time, I didn't understand what was telling me that I had to grab my child and run. I couldn't tell you that she was being incested. But there was a dynamic that exists if you understand what happens between the mother and a child that is being seduced or that is being incested by the father. What happens is that relationship is often severed. The mother is sick or disempowered. There's all sorts of dynamics that happen when with a child and father, and he treats her like a little princess. He puts her up on a pedestal, and by the time he does damage or does do the abuse, what ends up happening when the child goes to the mother is that the mother will say, well, what am I supposed to do? I have no way to support myself. You and I don't have a relationship. So she's not willing to sever completely because she's become economically dependent on that father. In my case, that wasn't the case. I was willing to leave and leave that. I ended up kidnapping my daughter and snatching her. And I went to jail. They found me after 3.5 years, and I went to jail. And I was not able to recover custody of my daughter until it was proven after he had incested her. And through that, I ended up going through the crime victim program with the state of California. I'm hoping that it skips my granddaughter. I'm hoping that this time we're able to sort of break that chain of the dynamic of incest.